Hello friends, in this video, I'll introduce you to a discrete time Fourier transform. I'll show you how the formula for discrete time Fourier transform is obtained, as well as I'll show you how the formula is derived even for inverse discrete time Fourier transform. Let us begin. To start with discrete time Fourier transform, I'll just go back to a continuous time Fourier transform and I'll write a formula for continuous time Fourier transform. So we used to call a continuous time Fourier transform as simply Fourier transform, but in reality it was a continuous time Fourier transform. Why? Because we used to deal with those signals which were continuous in time domain. So we know that for x of t, a continuous time Fourier transform is referred to as x of omega, where x of omega is related with x of t like this, integrating over minus infinity to infinity x of t e to the power minus j omega t dt. Is that right? Similarly, in case of discrete time Fourier transform, the signal that you will have would be obviously a discrete time signal. Why discrete time? Because as you can see here, dt stands for discrete time. So whenever you want to do a Fourier transform analysis, you have two ways. Either you have a signal in continuous time, then you have to go for continuous time Fourier transform. Whereas still, if you want to go for Fourier transform, in spite your signal is in discrete time domain, then you must go for DTFT, that is discrete time Fourier transform. Then the Fourier transform for x of n following DTFT, we get x of e to the power j omega. So you may get wondered why I'm writing this as x of e to the power j omega. I'll tell you. Look at this formula. Whenever you solve this integration, you get answer in terms of omega. So after solving this integration, you get answer in terms of omega, and that's the only reason why we write here x of omega. That is, it is function of omega. So here omega is said to be an independent variable in, of course, frequency domain. Whereas if you follow DTFT formula, you will see to it after solving DTFT summation, you will always get answer in terms of e to the power j omega, and hence we are writing x of e to the power j omega. Let us see the formula now. So what we have is x of e to the power j omega. Now we are going to express it in terms of x of n. So we know that integration, if we have in continuous time, then in discrete what we have is summation. So what we have is a summation where n value is varied from minus infinity to plus infinity. Of course, x of t would be replaced with x of n, and then e to the power minus j omega t would be replaced like this, e to the power minus j omega. In fact, omega should be replaced with n omega, or I can write just e to the power minus j omega n. So this is the formula for having DTFT of x of n. Now look at this summation. So after solving this summation, you will get answer in terms of e to the power j omega form, and therefore we write the final answer as x of e to the power j omega. So e to the power j omega would be considered as independent variable in case of DTFT. So we have done a Z transformation before this chapter. Now, if you know Z transformation, you don't have to learn DTFT separately. I repeat what I said. If you are very well in Z transformation, you don't have to learn, or you don't have to take extra efforts for learning DTFT. Even though I'll give you some trick where if for a particular signal in the exam, if they ask you what is a DTFT, then I'll give you steps in such a way that you will take a Z transformation for that signal. And once you get a Z transformation, somehow I'll tell you how to convert a Z transformation into DTFT. So I request you to start with DTFT. Make sure that you are very well in Z transformation. So before we move to the steps to solve with DTFT, still I need to discuss about DTFT, that is about an existence condition. So what is meant by existence condition? Let's recall for Fourier transform. That is, I'm talking about a continuous time Fourier transform. You know that continuous time Fourier transform is applicable to only those signals which are integrable in nature. So we used to have existence condition like this: integrating over minus infinity to infinity mod of x of t dt should be less than infinity. When I say the integration value is less than infinity, it means the given function must be integrable. Or graphically speaking, when I say function is integrable, means area under the curve should be finite. That is, the given function graphically should be bounded in nature. I hope you got my point. In fact, if you remember, when the function becomes unbounded, then Fourier transform fails, and then we go for a Laplace transformation. Similarly, when I'm talking about discrete time signals, then continuous time Fourier transform will not help you. Then you have to use another tool, that is discrete time Fourier transform. But again, discrete time Fourier transform is applicable to only those signals which are summable. Why I am saying summable? Because in case of discrete signal, I cannot say that the signal is integrable. So you know that now integration gets converted into summation. Vary the n from minus infinity to infinity. Mod of x of n should be less than infinity. It indicates that x of n is absolutely summable. So this condition indicates that x of n is absolutely summable. So please understand that the condition that I'm highlighting right now is the existence condition for DTFT. So if this condition is satisfied, which I have highlighted now, for given x of n, then only I can go for DTFT. If this condition is failed, then this is not applicable formula to have DTFT. In fact, you cannot get DTFT for those signals which are unbounded in nature. Only for bounded signals, as you used to have continuous time Fourier transform. Similarly, even in discrete time signal, your signal must be bounded in nature. Then only you can go for DTFT. Now the question remains, if DTFT is not applicable for unbounded signals, how do we go about unbounded signals decomposition in terms of frequency domain? Then the answer is you have to use a Z transformation. Likewise, we use Laplace transformation for unbounded signal in case of continuous time signals. Similarly, for discrete time signals, when they are unbounded in nature, we go for Z transformation, because there discrete time Fourier transform fails. So as I said, I'll give you a procedure to have DTFT. As I said, and I have promised you, you don't have to take so much efforts to learn DTFT. The only thing is you have to be quite thorough with Z transformation, and with little bit tricks you can get DTFT for given signal just by having a Z transformation and by following the procedure. Let's say step number 1 says you have to check the condition, that is existence condition for DTFT. You know that if x of n is the given signal, then the existence condition says summation n is varied over minus infinity to plus infinity. Mod of x of n should be less than infinity. Let me tell you, for given signal x of n, if this condition is satisfied, then and then only you can go for DTFT. If this condition is failed, then you cannot get DTFT for that signal. Please mark my words, what I said. Step number 2. Now we are quite positive about our given x of n. We assume that the given x of n is absolutely summable and it is applicable to get DTFT. So step number 2 begins with the same word. If the above condition is satisfied, then find Z transformation. Please understand, motive is to find DTFT only, but we have not learned DTFT in detail, right? Because from gate point of view, as I said, and I keep on saying that we have to save time. So we are going to learn the things, we are going to learn each and everything, but with a little bit tricks. So as I said, don't find DTFT, find Z transformation, because you're quite good in that. So from given x of n, find Z transformation and get what? Get x of z. Very simple. But then step number 2 needs to be followed only when the step number 1 is satisfied. Then comes step 3. Replace z with e to the power j omega. So now what will happen? That what you had is x of z. Here you are replacing z with e to the power j omega. Then of course x of z will become x of e to the power j omega, and now therefore this is called as DTFT, that is discrete time Fourier transform of x of n. So it is very simple. First of all, don't directly and blindly take Z transform. Make sure that for given function DTFT does exist by checking the condition I have stated below step number 1. Only and only if the condition is satisfied, then and then only get x of z. And then in your x of z, wherever you have z, replace every z with e to the power j omega and get x of e to the power j omega, and x of e to the power j omega is your discrete time Fourier transform for given signal x of n. So now I'll demonstrate you with some example. So let's take a question. Find DTFT for x of n, where x of n is equal to 2 to the power n times u of n. So let's see a solution for this. As I said, the given x of n signal must be bounded. That is, a summing property must be satisfied, which is existence condition for DTFT. So let's try to plot 2 to the power n u of n. We know that when I'm saying u of n, it makes sure that your signal is right-handed. So you know that u of n does exist from n equal to 0 to infinity. So when I'm plotting this x of n, I'll make sure that I'll start my signal at n equal to 0. So let's try to plot your x of n now. So this is n axis and I'm going to start with n equal to 0. So when I substitute n equal to 0, then 2 to the power n will become 1. When I substitute n equal to 1, then 2 to the power 1 is 2. Then at n equal to 2, it will become 4. Then at n equal to 3, it will become 8. As you can see over here, as soon as your n is increasing, this is exponentially increasing. If it is exponentially increasing, this is approaching towards infinity, and from the graph it is clear that 2 to the power n u of n is unbounded signal. And if it is unbounded signal, it means summation n is varied over minus infinity to plus infinity. 2 to the power n u of n. You know that u of n means you can change your limit from n equal to 0 to infinity. 2 to the power n is now equal to 2 to the power 0 plus 2 to the power 1 plus 2 to the power 2 and so on. And if you see, definitely it is equal to infinity. It means it is unbounded signal, and if it is unbounded signal, then existence condition for DTFT is not satisfied. What was the existence condition? The same that we have written over here. So I would say that summation n equal to minus infinity to plus infinity, mod of x of n is not less than infinity. So since the condition is failed, I can say that DTFT for the given signal is not possible. I hope you got my point. As I said, while getting DTFT and before starting with the actual procedure to get DTFT, you have to make sure that your signal should be bounded in nature. So let's take another example. Find DTFT for half to the power n u of n. Again, since the function is multiplied with u of n, I'll make sure that I'll be plotting my x of n from n equal to 0 onwards. That is only for positive values of n, because we know that u of n is always 0 for negative values of n. And u of n, make sure your signal is purely right-handed signal. So let us try to plot this. So what we have on x-axis is n. Let us substitute n equal to 0. So half to the power 0 will become 1. Then I'm substituting n equal to 1. So it will become half. Then at n equal to 2, it will become 1 by 4. At n equal to 3, it will become 1 by 8. As you can see clearly, as soon as your n is increasing, the function value is decreasing. Am I right? So I can clearly see that it is bounded in nature. If this is bounded in nature, the condition, that is existence condition for DTFT, is satisfied. And since this condition is satisfied, now I can go for DTFT procedure. So if you understand the procedure, step number 1 was to check the existence condition. So I would say rather, now I'm done with step number 1. And in step number 1, the existence condition for DTFT is satisfied. So I'm going for step number 2. So step number 2 clearly says that instead of going for DTFT, go for Z transformation, because we know the direct formula. If you remember, for a to the power n u of n, Z transform was 1 upon 1 minus Z inverse. In fact, this was Z transform for u of n. So let me correct it. So the Z transform was 1 upon 1 minus AZ inverse. Am I right? So a to the power n u of n has a Z transform as 1 upon 1 minus AZ inverse. So this is your x of z. Now step number 3. In step number 3, we replace z equal to e to the power j omega. Am I right? Therefore, now x of z will become what? X of e to the power j omega, which is equal to 1 upon 1 minus a. So instead of z, now I'm going to write e to the power j omega. But since it wasn't z, it was z inverse, then it will become e to the power minus j omega. And let me tell you, this is your DTFT. This is your DTFT of half to the power n times u of n. See how simple it is? So as I said, you don't have to take extra efforts to get DTFT for the given signal. I gave you a trick. First of all, check the condition, that is existence condition for DTFT. If it is satisfied, take x of z, that is z transform, and then simply replace z with e to the power j omega, and it becomes the final DTFT answer. I hope you understood how to take a DTFT, right? Now, I need to discuss it more. So what we have seen, let me write it once again. So it was half to the power n u of n. Its DTFT was 1 upon 1 minus half e to the power minus j omega. Am I right? So what is this? this is your x of n, and what is this? This is your x of e to the power j omega. Okay, now see what I'm writing. I want x of e to the power j omega plus 2 pi. Now try to understand what this function is about. Now x of e to the power j omega is known to me. What I want is e to the power j omega plus 2 pi. It means what I'm actually doing, I'm replacing omega with omega plus 2 pi. Very simple. So x of e to the power j omega is known to you. Let us write that function. 1 upon 1 minus half e to the power minus j, and now in bracket I'll replace omega with omega plus 2 pi. Why I'm doing this? Wait for it. You'll understand why I did so. So it is 1 minus, so I'll just use a law of indices and I'll just separate it. So it is half, in the bracket I'll write e to the power minus j omega multiplied by e to the power minus j 2 pi. I hope you understood this. This is just a law of indices I have used. So you should know this. E to the power minus j 2 pi is always 1. How do I get this? You know that e to the power j theta is what? It is cos theta plus j sin theta. So e to the power minus j 2 pi would be cos of 2 pi. Since we have negative sign, here we will have negative j sine of 2 pi. You know that sine 2 pi is 0, cos 2 pi is what? 1. So it is simply equal to what? 1. So I can replace it with 1. So what I get, let me write the final result. So the final result is x of e to the power j times omega plus 2 pi is simply equal to 1 upon 1 minus half e to the power minus j omega. Surprisingly, you will see that it is simply equal to x of e to the power j omega. So now I'm going to discuss why I did this and what I'm trying to prove. What I'm trying to prove is this and this function is same, right? Now let me write it. So from the discussion that we had in the previous slide, now I can conclude that discussion like this. X of e to the power j omega plus 2 pi is simply equal to x of e to the power j omega. If you remember that x of e to the power j omega was dtft of x of n. Am I right? So this was your dtft of x of n. And from x of e to the power j omega only, I got this function, that is x of e to the power j omega plus 2 pi, simply by replacing omega with omega plus 2 pi. Now you have to recollect something. Suppose if I write x of t plus capital T is equal to x of t, what do you conclude? I'm sure you remember, if x of t plus capital T is equal to x of t, it means it indicates the given x of t signal is a periodic signal with time period as capital T. So this indicates that x of t is a periodic signal with a fundamental time period as capital T. Try to relate it with the above equation that we have just proved. It indicates that x of e to the power j omega is periodic with a fundamental period equal to 2 pi. I hope you understood what I meant to say is, so what was x of e to the power j omega? X of e to the power j omega is a frequency domain of x of n. It indicates it is periodic in nature with 2 pi. So roughly I can show you how the structure will look like. So what I'm trying to show you, a rough structure of e to the power j omega, and probably how it looks periodic with fundamental time period equal to 2 pi. We shouldn't say even fundamental time period, we should say only fundamental period equal to 2 pi, because it is not a time domain, it is a frequency domain. So let me just show you. So this is x of e to the power j omega signal. As you can see, it is repeating in nature, and of course it has to be repeating in nature because this is periodic. So let's say this is 0, this is pi, this is, let's say, 2 pi, and of course here we have negative frequencies, minus pi, minus 2 pi, and so on. So as you can see, this is a fundamental period. Not necessary that x of e to the power j omega will have the same structure always. No, that depends upon the given signal x of n and what answer we get in terms of x of e to the power j omega. The reason why I have shown you this graph, because I just want to make you realize how x of e to the power j omega, if it is periodic in nature, it will somehow look like this. It will make sure that it will repeat its shape after 2 pi interval. So after every 2 pi interval of frequency, it is going to repeat it itself. Let me remind you a very important concept that we have learned, and then you will also understand why in frequency domain it has become periodic in nature. If you remember, in last two topics of a continuous time Fourier transform, we have learned a topic called as sampling. And while teaching you sampling, we came to the conclusion, in fact we have seen it graphically, that whenever we discretize signal in one domain, in other domain it becomes periodic. I repeat my statement, what I said. We have seen that in one domain, whenever we discretize the signal, in the other domain it becomes periodic. And if you remember what we are learning, tell me, we are learning DTFT. So tell me, DTFT is applicable for which signal? The signal which are continuous in time or discrete in time? Of course, those signals which are discrete in time. Then we look for x of n signal. So x of n signal is which kind of signal? It is of course a discrete time signal. What we have learned during sampling, that whenever in one domain you have a discrete signal, then in other domain signal becomes periodic. So discrete time domain signal becomes periodic signal in the other domain. This is a frequency domain. Is that right? So if you remember, in continuous time Fourier transform, we have also seen to have inverse Fourier transform. So what was inverse Fourier transform? Inverse Fourier transform is a tool where we get x of t from x of omega, and it was 1 upon 2 pi integrating over minus infinity to infinity x of omega e to the power j omega t d omega. I hope you remember this formula. So you know that inverse Fourier transform is a tool from which you get x of t from x of omega. But then it is possible only when you have x of t, that is a continuous time signal domain. Don't forget, what we are learning is DTFT, that is discrete time Fourier transform. So our signal is not x of t in time domain, our signal is x of n. So what we are going to see is inverse discrete time Fourier transform. So what is inverse discrete time Fourier transform? Is what we get x of n from x of e to the power j omega. So you will see a look-like formula with minor differences. Even in this case, we will have integration from minus pi to pi this time. Why? Because we know that we are just having a periodic signal here. So when it comes to a periodic signal, you don't have to integrate it over the period from minus infinity to infinity. So only difference that you will see here, that you are integrating from minus pi to pi. Here it would be 1 upon 2 pi only. Now instead of x of omega, you will have x of e to the power j omega, and then e to the power j omega n d omega. So you know that inverse discrete time Fourier transform is a tool from which you get x of n from x of e to the power j omega. So this is how we get inverse discrete time Fourier transform. So in next video lecture, we will solve few gate numerical based on this DTFT. Thank you.